All right, everyone. Welcome to our final episode of Peach Pit. Before we get started, I got to read this disclaimer. So before we get started, we have to make this usual disclaimer. Any views or opinions shared on the show are solely that of the individual contributor and do not reflect the views of Peach Pit, any FRC team, First, Georgia First, or any of their affiliates and sponsors. So the idea behind the show is to serve as an FRC talk show that focuses primarily on the Peachtree District. We're going to be talking about a variety of topics, so don't be surprised if you see us drop some hot takes. Ultimately, we're hoping to provide some entertaining and engaging discussion for the community. With that out of the way, let's get started on our final episode for this season. So, my name is Anupam Goli, and I'm a mentor for Team 1746 Auto.
My name is Kyle Fender, 1002 mentor, Georgia First, alumni coordinator.
Very down today, Kyle. So, do I have to say I'm retired if I'm sitting in this chair?
No, that's
maybe.
Not, yeah,
Okay,
that's
all
the
right.
retirement chair.
There you go. So, my name's Trevor Davidson. I'm a MC in Chesapeake and a former 1648 mentor.
I'm Kellen Hill, mentor for Team 1746 Auto.
Yep. So, let's talk district champs, right? The winners of the event, 4910 East Cobb Robotics, 2974 Walton Robotics, and 2415 the Westminster Wired Cats. And the finalists for the event, Team 1102 Making Magic, Team 1746
Auto.
and Team 7427
Protocol X.
Yep.
Kyle starting his game announcing career shrine.
Oh no, my voice just still hurts after this weekend.
It was an intense weekend.
Very.
So, let's also announce our Chairman's Awards winners, Team 4188, the Columbus Space Program, and Team 4468, the Fern Bank Lynx. And our EI winners, Team 1683, the Techno Titans, and Team 2974, Walton Robotics. So, Walton Robotics taking that cling bling home with the EI and the winners, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, let's talk about district championships in general, right?
Okay, but before we start, can I say that the venue was actually... I thought the venue was really good. I don't know what your guys' opinions on it was, but it really felt like a championship for the first time. I don't know whether that was because the lighting was a little bit dimmer than it is in some of the district events. And it was just like me being like, oh, this is championship from 2015, 2016. But it really does feel like this was a little bit better than the Athens event. I would say
I was a
love-
huge fan of the venue.
Yeah.
I think the crowd really... The venue and how the stands were set up, the crowd going at it on Saturday afternoon. I know I think probably 1261 and 1311 were probably some of the most lively sections going at it.
they had a whole
Yeah.
fans section
That
down
was-
there.
they had
as
a
well.
real
I thought that was
fan
awesome.
But
I thought
yeah,
that
it
was great.
It was an awesome environment for such a high caliber event.
Yeah.
And speaking of high caliber event, having been in Georgia since 2013, I think this is the best PCH/Georgia event I've ever been to.
Yes. I don't think that's even a question.
Yeah, in regards to the depth of the event, the talent of the teams, how high caliber of a game was being played by those teams, it was just awesome all around.
I remember 2011 playoffs. We had some quarterfinals matches where teams didn't even score any points. This is a long way from that. Like, these playoffs were nuts. These teams, all of these teams that made eliminations were
There were
completely
good. There were
capable
good
of
teams
playing
that
this
did not
game.
make a limb switch. I think this is the first time since like 2020. Like I can remember in Peachtree, but definitely the only event other than maybe last district championship that I've ever been able to say that.
Yeah.
You had teams like 73-15 who were the first backup bot, but they could definitely score a solid like 5 game pieces.
74-49 didn't even make playoffs, and they were clearly really good. Yeah.
So, yeah, the venue was definitely great.
It definitely serves as, I would also say, it definitely serves as a really great blank slate, you know, when you're in Sanford, not Sanford, whatever it's called in GA land, whatever it's called.
Sanford
No,
Stadium.
No,
That's
San-
the football stadium.
I don't
We're
know.
talking
That's
about
true.
the
It's UGA. Do I
Coliseum.
care?
Something. I don't know. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. But basically,
Athens.
Stegeman, there you go.
Yeah, you're right. Second
So in Stegeman, you had to basically deal with what you were given, right? So there's not a lot that you can kind of build off from. From talking with a lot of the Georgia First people, this venue will allow us to kind of grow in terms of not just the size of our actual championship, but the production value as well. Like,
I was a huge fan of like how much space there was to do things and how you
and having a full practice field
Yes.
for the first time since like
Yes.
2015.
thank you,
forget.
4188. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Let me tell
That
you
was
something,
awesome.
right? The last 2 years, especially here, at state championships have devolved into some sort of like arms race. So last year you had all these teams trying to on that small little practice field space trying to program scale autos, cross scale autos, double cube autos.
I mean, it was literally impossible.
We
Yeah.
ran into a ridiculous situation where you'd talk to teams about if they could do a scale auton, but all of them could only do right scale autons.
Because it was
that's
the
how
That was the configuration.
yeah.
So that was the one that was tried and tested, that nobody was all that confident in their left side scale auton.
I mean, it was to the point where last year, I mean, with 1648, we weren't doing the cross skeleton. We were like crossing part way because we knew we could score this eventually, but we didn't have the practice field to test it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like having that full practice field this year has really helped. Like everyone can attest this, right? This event also devolved into an arms race, but it was about about programming, and this time with vision tracking and aim assist. I counted multiple teams trying to figure out auto alignment on the full practice field, and multiple teams pulled it off. Like
Yeah,
That's
Walton
my
at the
kind of
event.
space race. Yeah.
Yeah, literally after every single match, I'd leave the field, go over to the practice field to go check it out, and there would be multiple teams just keep on going back to the rocket, trying out to make sure that they were aligned correctly and do it. And there are so many teams there that just tried to perfect it down to a science, and a lot of them did succeed. But it does show. I hope First takes a note of this now, of the complexity that we want to see in future games, especially when it comes to vision, because I think this game really lent well to basically a low floor but a high ceiling. I think a lot of teams could try to get to in some ways with something as simple as vision.
So maybe going into this, I want to do a straw poll. Do you think this is a better vision challenge than 2016 was? Because I think that's the most comparable vision game.
Well, you had the scoring target in 2016, but I don't know if too many people or too many teams used intense vision tracking.
If you
especially
wanted to
in
be a
PCH.
high caliber robot in 2016, it was a necessity. In this game, you can still be pretty high caliber without using vision, but if you can use vision, it'll take you to another level for that consistency of, especially if you're scoring 12 game objects a match, or expediting that process, the accuracy of placing each of those. It's a much bigger deal in this game, I think.
Any like pick and place game where you have to place something kind of precisely or with some measure of precision, then vision will definitely take you a tier above.
And I guess this game is also a little different because a lot of teams are using vision purely for watching the live stream from the camera instead of using it for actual target tracking.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say almost everyone's using that, but I mean, like, ultimately the best teams, like, I would say there were at least close, if not at 10 teams, really close to it that were using limelights or something similar at
Limelights, Jetsons.
at district championships. So teams are using it for vision tracking. I just think there haven't been that many. It's really, as someone who's been on teams that have tried to do this for a long time, this is very hard. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
This is not trivial. Even with the limelight, it's not.
Yeah,
Like, necessarily.
People will say like, oh yeah, limelights are really simple to use. Like, it is a good introduction, but to like get useful
output you
information
want.
and like to actually finely tune that to your robot it takes work. It takes time.
Right.
And I think the knowledge base, like we talked about how this is one of the most high caliber, or realistically the highest caliber event we've had in PCH, is because that knowledge base is growing. So especially with stuff like vision tracking, there's a larger knowledge base to be able to kind of jump onto those items. That way it's easy. I won't say that it's easy to take hold of, but it's easier to start with. There you go.
And like that shines really on the practice field at states. When you have a full practice field, you see all these teams coding up new techniques, new automation techniques, working on vision, and like Yeah, half of building a robot is coding it and programming it. So, and having a practice field, it lends itself to testing code and in an actual match or field environment.
Agreed.
So we want to talk about competition or the alliance selection next?
Let's talk about the alliance selections first.
I just want to say this. I want to say this as a person who was a victim. Personally, a victim of this. I implore you, like I'm going to look at the camera right now, scout, so I don't have to take a 5+ minute nap on the field. Don't get me wrong, it was great. I really needed it. But please don't subject me to that. There is only so much comedy that I can do for right about 30+ minutes before I look like an idiot. I already look like an idiot going 10+ minute mark. I definitely look like an idiot going past 20. Just saying. Scouting, please.
I would say, like, as someone I never had to do it that long as you did, but I've always been afraid of that happening, you gave me some really good ideas for what to do, so I really appreciate that.
It's just like, it was ridiculous. Like, I don't want to put any teams on blast, right? But like, I think
we all know who you are.
Yeah, one team.
We know who you
like
are.
For their first robot, we had an excruciatingly long wait for that team to announce their first pick.
And then they picked the next team in the rankings.
Yeah, which, I mean, like if you have like data and you're consulting it, that's fine. But like, honestly, it just seemed like a lot of teams were kind of stalling for time, and that's
right. I mean, at least like go in with a list, and if you can't, like, I mean, I was working with 1648 someone this weekend. And, you know, we're sitting there. I don't think our pick took ridiculously long, but we could have been faster about it, I think. You got to go in with a list and then get to an agreement quickly about what kind of robot you're looking for. It shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it really shouldn't. But I will say, in defense of like, looking back at some of the rankings, and if I look at it, there are a couple of those teams that hadn't been in that place before, so I understand it.
But like who?
So,
like, I've seen teams who have been in that position before. We've had 2 times like that, but this is their third event, and like there's one team on this list that was a rookie team. That's the only team I give sympathy to.
Well, their teams, I think it's more so that I can also understand it a little bit. For one, this game is a little bit more complicated to form. It takes a little bit more thought to figure out what your ideal alliance is and like what you prioritize a little more, just because you can score multiple game elements in different locations. But like, there are also some teams here who they don't have the biggest track record of winning events or seeding in the top 8. So those teams, yeah, it's understandable, but like, I think you have to have all your cylinders firing for state championships.
I just feel like 2 minutes is like the most you should be taking for a pick.
It should. I also say this, right? I think when you talk about alliance selection, it is probably one of the biggest pressure points in a competition, other than the actual
finals, probably.
Other than finals. So I think when you think about, especially with this high caliber of event, and we'll talk about it later, some of these picks that you make will make you or break you. And I think especially when you talk about the state, in a district event, in a normal district event, like obviously you're playing district, not just playing the game. So you're looking at the point totals and everything else, right? When you get to state championships, obviously there's still a little bit of, there's points that you have to look at. But the reality is you're gunning to win the actual game. So these, like, for past your district events where you're having to continuously, it's like, all right, what will get me the farthest? In this case, it was what will win me this game, realistically.
And we came into the event counting district points at every turn.
Just for funny to the extent you were counting district points. We're sitting here like, they're going to be a top 2 pick. I don't understand why they're worried about this. But
hey, after last year.
Yeah, after missing out last year by 5 district points, being the first team out, we were
not making sure that didn't happen again.
Top of
not
the priority
again.
list for,
So to go on to your point, I actually think it's a little more important to scout during the district events, just because some of these rosters are they're not the deepest.
Oh, agreed.
That's where a good scouting program or good data shines is being able to go and find the diamond in the rough. And like if you take these district events seriously and test your scouting system in those events, you'll be fine for states.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
And if you're a team out there that either thinks you need some improvement to your scouting team, talk to teams that you think do a good job of it. See if you can learn something new. To be more prepared for that situation, for asking some teams out there you might think have some more experience in that situation.
If we're going to say this, we should give props to some teams. The 7th Alliance did not spend a single second waiting for picks.
I wouldn't if I was them either. Look at the picks they got.
They made great picks. Yeah, no question about it. I thought they did a great job of that. So give them props.
With that note, let's talk about some of these alliances that did get formed, right? So let's talk about some of these strategies, like scouting strategies that teams, I guess, appeared to have used. I was particularly intrigued by this number 4 seed, right? They went triple offense in the quarterfinals. And it was reasonably successful for them in quarters, but in semis, they faced that juggernaut number 1 seed.
Well, I mean, I think the fact that you brought here's basically the breakdown I've got for the 3 robots, right? I think 832 is cargo only for the most part. They did have the hatch auto, but other than that, they weren't doing any hatches. So you knew where they were going to go, and it's not like they were particularly fast.
Right.
1311 was not the only hatch score that way, but clearly the primary. So you also had an easily defendable target. And then 1261. I think they've been more than I expected. I think, to be perfectly clear, they've been much better than I thought they would be.
Oh, yeah.
Full props to them for going to championship this year. I don't think they were the right pick in that spot. I don't think they were enough. There was enough scoring potential there. So
the fact that,
especially if they went triple offense,
right? So I think 36-35. I think they got out of the quarters because I think 36-35 maybe didn't make the best picks they could have. And I think they got fortunate in that regard. But once you actually face a real opponent and some 24-15 played some really good defense at times.
Right.
Like this was kind of in waiting, I think.
I mean, if you look at it, for Alliance 5 going back through the draft, you could 4188 I think was a really good pickup for Alliance 3 coming on the way back through the Serpentine draft. And Alliance 2, the fact that you guys got a 74-27, knowing that they will basically give you an additional 12 points when they go ahead and go through to their level 3 climb. It confuses me why you wouldn't go ahead and make sure to have the 12-point bonus, especially if you're coming back through on the last leg of the draft.
And Alliance 4 is the team that, I think you can justify, I think beyond the 8 Alliance, we'll skip it for a second, but the 7, 6, 5, I think could all really justify their picks. The 4 was, I think 74-27 should have gone there, in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, I want to take a look at Alliance 6 real quick, right? I was actually interested in this alliance mainly because they had Global Dynamics, the captain, who ended up playing defense, and then G3 was their cargo specialist, and then they got Avenger Robotics, 7451, who was a hatch specialist. And I kind of like that specialization alliance because every single robot had their own role, and when you get that going, it's kind of nice to watch. It's like, let me pull up quarterfinals 4 real quick. So this, this number 6 seed alliance, right? You have, after Sandstorm happens, you have G3 go on to cargo offense, Avenger go on to hatch offense, and then 4026 plays their trademark defense, or attempts to play their trademark defense. So I was a big fan of this line. I think they made mostly the right picks. And had a good strategy.
I think for where they were, I think it's a good pick if you are depending on, let's say, that number 3, that in this case, the 3rd Alliance, to basically just look at the cargo ship and climb as the main points. And then it becomes consistency, making sure you can score everything in the cargo ship. Only problem is that when you think about it, at a certain point, 4026 only cargo is, if you think about it in terms of hatches and cargo, 4026 is basically only hatch low. 1648 hatches and cargo. Let me think. Did they get?
They played mostly cargo.
Yeah, in this series, it was just designed around 1648 cargo as much as possible, and they got 10 in both matches. So I don't know how much you can really.
So I think this alliance also had some interesting points to it, because 4026 is a versatile robot. They can play a decent hatch game and defense. I think you could have maybe made some strategic flexibility and had. I think if 7451's cargo game was a little bit there
at all,
they could have provided some interesting stuff. I think because then you can have 4026 start the beginning of the match, putting hatches on the first level of the rockets, then switching over to defense while the 7451 comes over and switches from defense to offense. You could have had some switching going on there to potentially open up the most number of scoring positions.
But then even if...
ultimately, I think you come into the situation where the only other pick on the board that was available at the time they were there, I think would have made more sense was 4188.
Yeah.
And I think, in all honesty, 4188 would admit this, they were terrible the first day. So I can kind of see where that alliance was going. I do think that they boxed themselves a little bit into a corner when they picked this specialization, because if it didn't work, what were you going to do? But at the same time, recognizing that they only lost this match by 7 points, and there were pretty clear mistakes at the beginning of the match that could have fixed that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they won match 2. So I think you could have easily seen this series go 2 matches towards number 6, and I think it would have been... So, there's some criticism there, but also at the same time, they put themselves in a position to win, which is an underdog you always want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that number 6 seed, they definitely could have beaten the number 5. They could have gone toe-to-toe with number 4, probably, since number 4 played triple offense. You send a defender over, there you disrupt them.
Yeah, I think
they went toe-to-toe with number 3.
Yeah, I think if the 6 was in the 4-5, they would have won.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, but that's not how the tournament works sometimes.
Yeah. So props to that 6 seed for putting together a good alliance.
Yeah, the only series, I think, at the event that went to 3 matches. So
Yeah.
So now that we're talking about playoffs, right? Final. I don't want to talk about finals.
I don't, because...
I think the only point we need to come out of finals, I think there's not much to draw from it because of what happened, but I think we just missed out on what was probably it may have been the best single series in Peachtree history. Ultimately, I think you had... Last year's semifinals at District Championship between the 1 seed and the 4 seed was good, but it wasn't as close. I don't think everyone ever thought it was really that close a series. This was the first time I think I can remember coming into a District Championship, besides maybe the 2-5 in 2016, where I was looking at a final series and being this could be a showdown.
Yeah.
And it really it was disappointing it didn't turn out that way.
Well, and a showdown, I think, in the sense that as well as that you get in those alliances 1 and 2, I think those are the 4 robots between 4910, Walton, 1102, and 1746. The only robots at the event that were capable of completing a rocket by themselves.
Yep.
Right.
To have that kind of offensive firepower in a single match, and then having some really solid defense, some 3rd level climbers as your 3rd bots, it could have been something special.
It would have been perfect, but it also shows when you don't show up to a showdown like that.
It's just shit happens, and especially in as rough a game as this, with all the defense going on,
But I think it'll also come down to this, right? And I think we said it earlier in the season when you talk about being ready for almost a stress test of eliminations, right? Where it comes to you need to use your time wisely and effectively, especially when it comes to troubleshooting, when it comes to even just showing up to the match on time. So I think even in this season, and it's ironic that this happened to almost the same team twice in the same season. First time at Gainesville, where unfortunate circumstances led to one of the Alliance members with 1102 not being able to compete in one of those matches, and then it was just a bad series.
And
From that, and then now you have, unfortunately, because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with their electronics in this case, they weren't able to show up in the finals. So it kind of just shows like you have to be ready for that stress test.
I think to be fair, at this point, what is 1102's played close to 50, 60 matches? Like, yes, like you do have to be ready, but at some point, like things just happen.
yeah, you can only be so proactive, like to identify and be ready to address a PCM failure as quickly.
Yeah, which is a very
Yeah.
specific thing.
In quarterfinals, you might be all right just because you get a few more matches for a turnaround, but that it was in finals and that the matches just were going so fast.
And I'd say even last year, like 1648's alliance with 1102. I mean, we had 1102 in that second quarterfinal match literally could not lift their lift. Like they had to play the low game because they could not do anything else. Sometimes you just get lucky when your breaks happen, and sometimes you don't. I mean, that by the end of the series, Anupam, you can test this. We literally could not push that robot. Like at the end of finals from 2018, the drivetrain was completely locked up, so we could not manually push this robot.
Yeah, even in finals, like that gearbox was bad.
You could hear it in the stands. Like it was at that point. I mean, you have to get lucky.
Yeah, honestly, I'll agree with you there.
I will say though, like, humble brag, I guess, but like the 1746 driver here really put on a show on how to avoid defense, and he kind of had to playing 3v2. But like, just look at some of the spin moves that he ends up moving to get around
24-15. I was like, there we go.
And to give Wildcats credit, I think they had sped things up a bit, and they were able to stay on top of any team they were playing defense on.
Yeah,
so they were really hard to shed as a defender, but as an offensive bot, kind of getting the whole half of the field to play around, kind of opened things up a bit, but.
Yeah, 24-15 drove the pants off that robot in finals, and so did Otto. And like the fact that Otto
hatch we just picked up right there is actually on the opposite side loading station, which is kind of a testament to the camera tracking that our programmers got working out. So it was awesome to just see our driver seamlessly go to the opposite side of the field to pick up a hatch, and just as quickly as he would on our driver's station side of the field. So
yeah, but like 24-15 here just plays such a great job with defense and disrupts us.
Shut
and like
down
the fact that they had to get us to use the opposite side loading station, and the fact that they were just making us run around for our lives. That is an effective way to play defense.
Yeah, it's not just, hey, I'm just going to push you.
They have what we call tackiness, the stickiness that they stick to their die.
Yeah, I like that.
And like I think they've been playing defense most of the season, so like they've had pretty much an entire season's worth of practice here at this point, and it really showed off in finals.
So I think coming out of this at finals winners, obviously 49-10, 29-74, and 24-15 are all three at the same time the first team to win a second district championship. First teams to win a second district championship.
Right.
Which I think is amazing in itself, considering we've only had 4 seasons. We haven't had a dynasty like I think some other regions have, with with 384 in Chesapeake and with 190, especially 195 in New England. But
if we're talking about just districts, if not just districts, also don't ever forget 14, 20, 56.
Right.
Let's
and
be real.
Of course, and 24-15 had a long time where they were dominant before districts started.
Sure.
So there's not, but 24-15 especially has now played in 3 of the finals of district championship. I know, like twice as the last pick in the draft. So but they won both of those times, and then 2016 they were the best high goal scorer in the state. So
they've got a little 2 state championship streak going.
Right.
Gosh.
Which I think was amazing. I mean, like I remember last week prop bets. I think we sat here and we said 3 Sunny, Anupam, and Kellen. You guys all said that they probably weren't going to make playoffs and had the false on the will all 3 2018 district championship, and they did actually prove you wrong. So and they get there, they won. So one other guest note, 74-27 becomes the first rookie team to ever play in Peachtree District Championship Finals, which I think was, I don't think you could have called beforehand, but of the teams, rookie teams that you expected to be there, they were definitely up there.
I was really impressed with their robot throughout the season, just because they were such an ambitious robot with swerve drive. They had an elevator. They could play hatches, cargo.
The suction climb.
Adding that climb in the mid-season, that's something that top tier teams do.
Right. And I think if they had the rest of their robot functioning at the rest of those two mechanisms, they would have been dangerous. They would have been really dangerous. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see what happens to them.
I really hope that in these couple days before they have to send their stuff off, that they're just making the necessary changes, especially with with hatches and cargo. That climb felt so great,
and it was really. I was kind of surprised. Did you guys have a reason for why you didn't try to double climb?
Yeah.
With 1102, and
it was if anything, it was a timing thing or a thing that we're going to pull out in the right circumstance.
Yeah.
I think 1102 was also a little skittish about using their climb.
So early.
Because
it wasn't the most solidified climb out of any of the
There were a few times where
L3s.
Remind me a lot of 148 from 2013.
If nothing else, Protocol X was more of an insurance thing to say, all right,
very
we
good
can use
insurance policy.
that level 3 instead of 1102s.
Yeah. I think John Fogarty said at one point that their cylinders were bending from use, and the way they climb, that puts a lot of weight on those cylinders.
Yeah.
Weird angles.
Yes, sir. And so then I guess we should probably focus on 2974 next, who 3 for 3 at PCH events. First time ever that anyone's been able to do that. Although we've had 3 event winners before, but this is the first time.
3 for 3. They went 100. They batted 1,000.
Right, which I think we've pretty well established this is the best Peachtree. The funny thing is they didn't even get the #1 spot in the district points ranking.
Yeah, that was
because 49-10 won 2 awards in the state championship. And for reference, the highest district point before, 49-10 was at 360 this year.
Yeah.
49-74 was at 359, so basically tied.
Yeah.
The next closest team in all of district history was at 327. The next closest team this year was almost 100 points away. So I think those two. I mean, I think we went all season, especially. I want to monologue on 49-10 for a second here. We went all season being like, they didn't live up to what preseason expectations were. They didn't reach that level. But if you had told me at the end of this year they were going to be finals at 2 of their events and win the state championship, would we have any surprise? I mean, we said this might be the team that kind of rises up and becomes the top tier team in the state, and they did. I mean, they just didn't do it as dominantly as we thought it would be.
They had to basically grow into it, and which they did. Going into the state championship, they really grew into not only the function, the function of their drive team, which exceptional going into going through the state championship, but then also talking with them about their process of even simple stuff like their hatch mech and things like that. They went through probably about 10 plus iterations of that to get to the consistency that they had with their hatch mech at state. So, hats off to 49-10.
Yeah. And they just showed up at their first event with that good level 3, good cargo, decent hatch game, and they've just been consistent throughout.
And I think the one small incremental changes again.
Yeah, I think that was the key factor in their performance this season, was that last year at state they had some good programming, or they had very great programming, a very good robot, right? But between the last district event and state, they didn't improve as much as they did this time. This time they had a completely new hatch mechanism, right? They were a lot faster. They were using vision alignment as well during state championship.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was only at states was the first time they'd completed a rocket by themselves.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's where the evidence of that improvement throughout the season for that 49-10 robot.
Yeah.
So full props to them. But I mean, end of the day, Walton's. I mean, I think we would be sorry to say that Walton hasn't been the most impressive robot across the whole season. I think now, and maybe I'm starting to take the Kyle role here. I think they're still we have to give, before we get into this, I think we have to give full props again to 2974. They are awesome, unequivocally.
Yeah.
But I think we've reached the point in the season where if you're not saying 7046 is the best robot in the state, are you watching the same game I am? Because they are They are so fast. Like it is.
Just want to just.
I
do
think.
that for a
I
second.
think the thing about it is Walton may be more consistent. Like I think Walton may have this like slightly elevated floor than 74.6, but 74.6's ceiling is higher at this point.
Oh yeah.
But I think earlier in the year you were wrong, like 100%.
Wow.
Earlier in the year,
Listen.
like, especially coming out of Gainesville, you were 100% wrong. Like anything before that, even before Forsyth, you were 100% wrong.
Wow.
Now you would be right. Now
What is this?
We were talking about this earlier, that we were talking. Kyle had stepped out on this limb. He was not sure how sturdy it was at all.
That limb grew. You jumped. It's more like you climbed up the tree. You jumped into a limb you thought would be there. It wasn't there yet, and then it grew underneath.
No,
like
it was there.
That's exactly it.
What?
Exactly it.
No,
It was not there, Kyle. It simply was not.
Right. No. Okay, listen. I will say this. There are a couple things I will say with 2974. I think they definitely proved me wrong on a lot of stuff in terms of last year there were, you didn't see as much in terms of terms of what you really thought they could iterate on to make themselves better. They did way better this year with iterating on, the hatchmech, iterating on their cargo game, and they were exceptional. And I think that, in talking with Eric Kaufman, one of the big goals for them, which, I do admire, is we want a robot that can play here at State and be a high-level contender at Worlds. And so they took the goal of, we want to be specialized. We don't want to just try to do everything and basically be a master of none. They want to be able to specialize and be good at what they do. So I believe that, honestly, they are, I was wrong about in terms of the efficiency and everything else. When we saw the efficiency rankings and everything else, I think they have really proved that they are probably one of the best in the country when it comes to what they do with cargo and hatches. Now, I will say on the other side, I think if you give 2974, let's say MVP right now, MVP doesn't also mean that 1746 isn't basically...
It's like the NFL where you have the offensive player of the year and you have MVP. Like 2974 is the MVP, but 1746 is the offensive player of the year.
Exactly. Like if we honestly think about it, 1746 is going to be a real commodity at Worlds in whatever division that they go to.
Yeah. Sorry. So I've made a few props. We won't have a segment obviously today, but we have a few. Okay. Who will be picked earlier in the Division Alliance selection, 1746 or 2974? And so obviously we don't know the divisions yet. This is very, I think this could change based on that. But so what I would say is if you were the 2 Alliance captain, that is after the 1 first pick, just to be clear.
Okay.
So
if my decision is between 1746 and 2974.
these are the only 2 teams you can pick between.
1746. I'm sticking with it. So I'm going 1746.
Ooh.
You've been humble all season. Brag a little bit, okay?
I mean, yeah, like looking
Come
at our
on.
finals performance, I'm going to expect that level of defense, and seeing our driver dance around that, still get like 8+ cycles. I think I'm going to go. Walton has defense played on them, but I haven't seen that level of defense played on them, and I haven't seen their driver navigate around that level of defense. And like in
Kel's like, you guys are disrespecting.
No.
Kellen is on the disagreement train. He's trying to come up with.
I'm just trying to hype
Listen,
this up.
all I'm saying is that if we're comparing, like 2974, it's like 2974 played in the Big 12. Obviously, great. Listen, they're great, okay? Patrick Mahomes, amazing, okay? But we are talking about 1746 in the big, in a whole different conference.
So would you say 2974 is the
SEC?
Baker Mayfield of
Listen, Baker Mayfield
and
worked
Patrick
out.
Mahomes is the 70-46 analogy of this game.
There you go. I feel like that's great.
2974 has been my pick all season, and I think for incredibly good reason that they came out of the gates playing at that tier, Early on, we were in a tough spot, and we set that as the goal, knowing that our skill sets were roughly equivalent without a level 3 climb. After this last weekend, I think it's safe to say we've approached and reached that level, which I'm beyond thrilled to say. I think it's just such a close call between the two robots.
That's why I like this prop bet.
this is why had finals been at all teams been at full strength in finals, it would have been the best finals ever in Georgia history.
All right, Kyle. All right, Kellen, we need a pick from you.
I swear.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Because I think we have a slight edge in autonomous for getting closer to scoring 2 game pieces, for 2 hatches.
We already do in Sandstorm.
Yeah, exactly. So between that, and just seeing what our driver is capable of, I'm gonna give us the slight edge, the very slightest of edges.
So
there we go. Welcome to the promised land.
I'm not willing to play the contrarian stance this time. So this is the first time we actually have unanimous agreement across this.
But we are unanimous about that. But
Sonny would definitely pick 29.
Oh yeah.
He would.
Basically.
And I want to say 2970. If 1746 is like picked first, 2974 would be picked right after.
And I can guarantee you, I wouldn't want to play that 2 seed in finals.
No.
That was a really good first 1 and 2 seed, but I'm just like, no. I'd rather if this was the same week, I would rather play the 3rd seed. 3rd seed is dangerous, but you can.
This makes me wonder, like, they've talked about, especially in hockey, they've talked about pick your playoff opponent. So the 1 seed gets to pick any of the bottom 4 seeds to pick in the first round, and then in the second round they get to pick either of the 3, whatever the bottom 2 seeds are. Like, that'd be so cool to see in FRC. It's not great.
Maybe like an off-season event.
Right.
So
speaking of off seasons,
well, yeah, since the regular season's over now, we just got champs around the corner. What do we think about Destination Deep Space in district play and at state championships? Was it a good game? Was it a bad game? What are the odds?
I think it's the same way that you can think about just the game it's a great game. I think low floor, high ceiling. I think it definitely reached a lot of the points that we hoped that it would reach. But I also think that with certain ways that rules were written, go back to G20, anything like that, or even just like the fact that there's no safe zone around the rocket, there's a lot that it is left to be desired. But I believe that with what we've been given, this game has been amazing.
I agree with you on that, but I will say, like, I was at the beginning of the season, I really loved it, and the defense wasn't too bad. There was like a lot of offense going on. Defense showed up every once in a while in district play and during the playoffs. But then, like, we got into week 5, and then at state championships, I think that's when my mind really kind of started to or my opinion kind of started to shift. I just hated being hammered by defense all weekend. It sucked. Like, having good, like, effective defense, like 24-15 was playing in finals was fine, but then, like, most teams, though, they just play bumper cars with you. They just
bumper cars. Like,
I think it can be more difficult in quals, especially when you don't have established alliance partners to rely on every single time. Some matches you'll get really quality alliance partners, others you won't. So being defensed in those situations can be a real hit. But I thought it was pretty exciting when it came to finals. Between Protocol X playing defense, between Wirecats playing defense, anybody else playing defense. And I thought it was really interesting to see how those top alliances kind of reacted to it. It seemed like most of the defense on the number 1 alliance would kind of go after a single one of the 2 robots, and I don't know if it was a conscious choice by the number 1 alliance, but whoever was getting defense stuck on their side of the field and took the defense. They lost a lot of efficiency because of it, but at the same time, you get Walton or 4910 just going crazy on their own side of the field, scoring as many game pieces as they can. And if you're picking any robot to leave alone at the event,
you don't want to leave either.
Exactly. So in comparison to that strategy, the number 2 alliance, and it came out right out of the gates in quarterfinals. 69-19 was coming over playing defense. When that happened, they did such a good job cutting off our side of the field that we immediately bounced and started playing on the rocket on 1102 side of the field for comboing up on that rocket.
It's just too bad they kind of sat there.
Yeah, for 69-19.
Yeah.
So it's just, different types of defense. Obviously, they cut off an entire side of the field, both cargo ship and a rocket. But we were still able to score enough points on that number 7 alliance to get through.
While we've got this match pulled up, this is the semifinal 3 of 4. There was an interesting point here where 1261 is playing defense, right? And Walton's trying to stay on that side of the field, like you were saying, right? They wanted to persevere through that. But if you notice here, they've got a couple of different points where they can place a hatch still.
Right.
So you're going to see Walton go over. 1261 thinks they're probably going to try and place it on the rocket or something. But nope, Walton comes around, goes into the cargo ship, and scores that. And that's where they were using that. They were comfortable not having to switch over to the side of the field because they had multiple different places to score a hatch panel and keep those cycles going.
It's just quite literally, I think, Kellen, you had said before, it's about having a release valve to be able to let those pieces go.
Yeah, obviously you know where you want to score first off,
right?
But you absolutely have to have your second target already picked out. Especially if you're playing against high-quality defense. They're not going to let you get to where you want to go. So you'll get into some interesting situations if you pick up a hatch, but there's literally only one hatch spot to score that's the most advantageous. So you either have to get to that spot or score a hatch where it doesn't make all that much sense, or if you have a cargo, making sure you have your spot identified.
And I think that's, in tying us back to the whole Destination Deep Space game, I think that was a unique game strategy that we haven't really had in prior years. For the most part, in every other game, there is one place to score, or if there's not one place to score, there's one team there's one spot on the field that your team specifically can score from.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think that was a really unique portion of this game.
And that makes it very much so a driver's game. Again, for just getting to their spot. And putting the hatch on or getting the cargo in. That's but the amount of different scoring locations, you got to get to where you need to get.
And I think as well, when you think about in terms of when you think about how FRC games have progressed in years, where it matters about cycle types and everything else, you really do see the necessity to really game plan those types of items. Like talking with 1002. One of the big things talking with the driver was you need to know where you're going after if you cannot get to your ideal spot, where else are you going to go? And plan that even before the match, because that's why I think it's a great element within the game that you can choose, all right, I'll have null hatch panels here, so on and so forth, because it can sometimes benefit you of all right, I know heavy defense is going to be played. That way, I can just place these hatch panels on here, and it's fine. But then you saw in matches with 1002, they would go through their motions, they'd score the game pieces, everything else, they were fine. Problem was that in some cases, for example, if they were playing heavy cargo game, and someone else was supposed to be playing the hatch game in that case to be able to kind of supply them with places that they could put hatch or cargo there, they had periods right about 5 to 10 seconds where they were waiting. And it's because everything was scored on the cargo ship already, so now they had to wait. So this game was definitely good. It's have a game plan going in before.
And I think I want to go back to the defense point just briefly real quick, because I wanted to say, I think defense in this game yielded itself to some good strategies on, involving having multiple places to score, involving, pick and roll plays, or in this case, right, you have 1746 they're trying to play on one rocket, they just switch over to the other side where 1102 is at, and then 1102 is trying to, score around there. There's some defensive plays that allow each of these teams to go around to the other side of the field, and I think that's where the defense in this game lended itself to some brilliant strategy, match strategy in this case.
Yeah.
But as an overall, like in qualifications, defense sucked.
So I think on the whole, for me, I don't think it was as good as Power Up. I think it was good though. Like I think at the beginning of the year we all looked at it, I was like, oh, this game could be bad, and it turned out much better than that. So I was happy.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised because it was another pick and place game with multiple scoring objects, but like it flowed.
Yes, which you didn't expect to.
And I was kind of afraid I was more optimistic, I think, in the beginning of the season, especially when they introduced the fact of the sandstorm. You know, I thought that was a nice element, but I think I was more optimistic until I thought about the fact that with the divided field, it could become like Recycle Rush.
Which it didn't.
And I'm glad
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
So, do we want to jump over to mailbag questions?
Yeah. So this week we posted on Chief Delphi.
You gotta do the part of the introduction. It's mail time.
It's mail time.
Mail time.
So something new this week, we posted it on Chief Delphi asking for users to submit questions, and we chose some of the questions and chose some of the more common ones too, and we're going to answer them. So let's start with what team kind of surprised you guys and really stood out with their performance this year?
36-35.
Hold on. It was asked by Forrest Dines on 1648.
36-35.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I think they picked especially right out of the gates for week ones for a lot of teams. You could tell some teams caught on more quickly than others that 3 points were in fact more than 2. And 36-35 was one of the robots that was scoring cargo as fast as possible pretty early in the season. So it was a pretty cool robot to see.
Yep. I was also surprised by 5109 Gladiator Robotics.
The jump they made from year to year was really impressive.
Oh yeah.
They came into Gainesville with a really good level 3 climb and a decent-ish cargo game, but then they iterated on that by Forsyth. They were one of the best cargo games out there with the level 3, and they significantly improved their hatch play as well at that event. And
I'll give a shout out to a few rookies for 75-14.
Yep.
Yes.
75-41 is it for Avengers?
74-51.
74-51 for some real role players, and then 74-49.
And 74-27. Like we had some really solid rookies this year.
Really solid rookie class.
And I thought, what happened? So I know 14-14's year didn't end the way they wanted to, but honestly, I was really impressed with them all year. They win their first event in a real 2006, but I think the last time they won an event before this year, and I think even if you didn't get the result you wanted at state championship, or we were necessarily anticipating a state championship, getting even that first win is so big. That is just huge. So I thought they were really impressive all year.
that robot reminded me of something that classic 254 would build, something that back when they weren't making the most complicated robots, but they made the most developed. And it just reminded me of a 254 robot, honestly. Just the way it was built and the way it kind of functioned. So, any other teams that kind of surprised you guys?
I think we could go on for a long time on this.
Yeah.
There were a lot of teams that were surprising, but I think those were probably the tops.
There was one that I thought really did, and I don't think that it surprised me that they were good as much as it surprised me of how much their specialization in past years really worked for them with this game. And that was 1311, personally. So 1311 in past years, they will build solid robots, and they'll be able to rise to a certain point. But you realize that there's a lot of I would almost say big flaws that will come out later on in the game, right? In this game, 1311 created a robot that was very mechanically sound, worked when it needed to, and was able to be efficient with scoring cargo and scoring hatches, and was a really good defense robot.
Yeah.
And I think they came up clutch for not just that number 4 alliance, but realistically within their full season. I think that they really did show out.
Yeah. And like this match here, qualification 74, right? This was one of those matches where we were afraid we probably were going to lose.
The assumption going into this match was they were going to lose. The game plan going into this match was to come out with 2 ranking points, not by winning, but by completing our rocket and getting a level 3 climb, with the assumption that the other guys were going to do the same thing and outscore us doing it.
Basically.
But
13-11 like goes on defense here, and they were playing really solid defense, shutting down 49-10 and 17-71.
Yeah, it looked like they had the strategy out of the gates to both be playing on the same rocket, which really opened them up to some this defense that you see 13-11 playing on them right now. So we've placed our 6th hatch panel right now, while I believe they have 3 or 4 hatch panels and 1 cargo in their robot. So
now, to be fair, 1648 was on the other side doing some work, but yeah, I mean, the defense. One defender against 2 scoring robots it's not a sum of all parts. It's less than 1 by itself.
And I think they were able to really pick out, because if you look back in that footage, you see how 13-11 plays really smart defense, especially in how they knew when to back away from the other robot, but basically they figured out that 1771, it was almost to a point where it was like they didn't catch on immediately to like, hey, let me go ahead and release this game piece. And so you see it was almost to a point where 1771 kept on trying to get over to the rocket. They realized they couldn't get over to the rocket, and then they just dumped it in a cargo ship. They should have dumped it off way sooner. And 13-11 really took advantage of that, and I think that their drivers really saw that.
Yep. And like, look at 13-11 here, right?
Yeah.
They played defense, right? They come back over and score some cargo. Like, that versatility and what they were capable of really impressed me, and I think going into Worlds, that's going to really work in their favor.
Yep.
Being able to play some killer defense, come back over, get a few cargo cycles in. That's a very well-rounded pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
See, Kyle, that was going to be my answer to one of the next questions, which was from John Fogarty on 1102. Which PCH teams have the highest potential to go far in Houston, in your opinion? So that was, I think, beyond the obvious 1746, 2974, 4910,
right,
even 1102, they were going to be my next team, because they were so versatile, they were so effective in a variety in multiple different roles, that I really feel like as any team as any alliance in the second round with a 3rd level climb already in place, they're a team. That's exactly the kind of team you want. So.
Agreed.
Yeah, and like, what other? I guess in addition to 13-11, I would say obviously you have your like 2974s, 4910, 1746, 1102. But in addition to them, I would say a team like 1414. Definitely going to go far.
Yep.
Like, they didn't have the results they were expecting at States, but they're a very solid robot that can kind of do it all and play that versatile role again.
Yep, I think that'll be good. Kellen, anybody?
Let's see. I'm gonna toss out. I think I'd like to imagine there are going to be some more. I think, and again, depending on the kind of depth we're going to see in divisions. But robots like 1771 could be incredibly dangerous, especially with their cargo game being as solid of a level 3 climber as they are. One of the scariest robots you're ever going to see playing defense. Depending, again, on the depth of these divisions, I'd be interested in seeing if PCH teams are going to kind of see just a consistency compared to the PCH game we've been playing, or if we're going to start seeing any deeper competition in these divisions. But I think some of these teams are really going to thrive if they have teammates that are kind of taking more of the defensive load. So between 1771 and 1414, that some of those teams are really going to benefit as, again, a level 3 climber and as well-rounded as they are.
And what scares me the most about 1771, like I said, right, they've got one of the fastest climbs, 4 seconds, right? It's all automated. That's going to be so valuable for a team at Worlds. Like having someone who can climb in the last 5 seconds. They can play defense for the rest of the match, or they can switch between defense and offense. And like that is one of those. That's one of those weapons, man. That it might not have shown itself as much in Peachtree Champs, but at Worlds it's going to show itself.
So I guess I have another prop bet. I'm gonna actually have two. So one is how many the number of PCH teams that will be alliance captains or first round selections. I have at 4.5.
4.5.
You said alliance captains or
first round picks. So
I'm going over.
Top 16.
Over.
Let's see. You said 4.5.
Yes.
Not even going to be close. It's going to be like 8.
That's what I'm thinking.
Captains or first round selection.
That's why when you said that,
that's enormous. Even 2017, it wasn't that high.
You've got 4 of the robots that were in finals. That's already 4 right there. They're probably going to be first round picks.
And then you have as many level 3 climbers as
I mean, to be fair, we thought 1102 was going to be a first round pick at Champs last year, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And were they?
No.
Wait. So.
I'll go over. All
right, I got under this one. I'm willing to be a contrarian. Yeah, because I think you know.
You don't think we're high enough?
Yeah,
yet
I think
clout
4.5. I think I think there will be one or maybe one team that sneaks in, but I also can see like 1102 dropping out. Like I don't think it's. We've seen them get beat by defense. I don't think. Yeah, they don't have exactly a drivetrain that's.
If we're thinking
preferable.
If we're thinking about it in terms of those teams, right? You know, those 4. Let's say those 4 teams. 1746, 2974, 4910.
I think those are 3.
The 3. 1102 for me is the team that it could just be like, yeah.
But then you're expecting one other team on this list to make it as a captain, pretty much, because I don't think anybody else is a first round pick. So I think you're in tough. I think to me it's an under. But I don't think it's necessarily an obvious under, but I think it's an under.
I'll say over, but I won't. I'll say this. I won't be surprised if 1102 drops. I won't be surprised, but I have faith that they're going. That if anything, they will fix that PCM problem, which it shouldn't be. I don't think it will be too hard of a fix. Go from there, they'll be able to succeed.
They just need
another thing to remember is there are only 10 quals matches at Worlds.
Oh yeah, they have to make every match count.
Sample size is smaller, and with the amount of level 3 climbers, and I think there's as many level 3 climbers around the world as there are. But I think that qual schedule, luck of the draw. I think you're gonna see a couple of those level 3 climbers be consistent enough to stay in that top.
All right, so then, if you guys have that take, then I think you guys might have it over on this one too. Total Peachtree teams picked in any round is 8.5.
Over.
Sorry, repeat that.
Total Peachtree teams picked in any round at 8.5.
Total Peachtree teams picked. 8.5.
That's not alliance captains, then, right?
That's any team, any spot.
You use the word picked, though. So.
Picked it, so you can't be there's no backup bots to champ. So it's any of the 32 picks in the division. 8.5.
8.5.
That's a tough one.
8.5.
I'm gonna go with the under on that.
Let me look at this list. I had the list up in front of me. I unfortunately looked at 2018, and then I saw 1002 was there and qualified, and I was happy for a minute, and then realized it was 2018, and then switched to 2019, and then instantly became sad again. So
it was fun while it lasted. Yes.
Yeah, no, ride was fun, man. So let me think about this. So 4910, 2974. 11.
Kyle, you can't say this line. You got to make a pick here. Come on.
Yeah. Fine. I'm gonna go under.
Going under. I will take the over for reference. I think there's going to be. I think while we won't have many first round picks, I feel like we have plenty of teams who are going to be like second or backup bot picks. I don't think that's going to be as rare.
I just feel like in this game is just a weird one in that there's going to be a lot of mid-tier. There's going to be a lot of decent cargo and hatch bots, and I feel like that's where the PCH teams. There's just gonna be so many of them, so many teams that are kind of similar, and there's
you
just
think it's gonna be hard to stand out.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to stand out.
I guess fair. All right. Next question.
Yeah.
On that note, let's roll into this question. So what can teams do to be more competitive at Worlds, either from a robot perspective or driver perspective? My comment on this is build out your skill set. If you need to learn how to play defense, learn how to play defense. If you have a questionable hatch game that you can see some room for improvement on, chase after it. But on that comment that we were just hitting on for the flood of cargo and hatch bots that are going to be there, in order to stand out, one of the things teams are always looking for is consistency. So test something as much as you can, but if it's not ready to fly by Worlds, it might be worth leaning on something that's going to give you some more consistent results to, again, prove to those teams that are scouting that these guys are here. This is what they can provide every single match.
Don't break. Don't not work. Always work. That's, I think, the biggest thing I've learned from my trips to Worlds.
And I would also say on that point, just being ready. You know, I think pit crew is so important when it's like as soon as that robot hits the pit floor, start doing what you need to do.
And you have longer travel times, so things are different enough at these events that it takes adjustment. It really does.
If you don't have a pre-match checklist, get one now.
If you need one, Chief Delphi. But I would also
get on the practice field. Do as much practice as you can.
Agreed. I would also say scouting.
Yes.
Because it's not just about a line selection; it's about in-match strategy.
Yeah, you want to have an idea of who you're facing and what they're capable of.
You have a 10-match sample that you have to be able to work with, and if you do not optimize that time, you're going to end up getting the short straw, where you're gonna basically be what's the word I'm looking for? Forgettable. You don't want to.
Yeah, and I want to give a real example of this. So last year on Champs with 1648, we were sitting in a match. We were playing up against 971 for our quals match against them, and we were saying to ourselves, we really they have 55-54 in that alliance with 45-76. We really felt like we might have been outgunned. We had 2403, but we didn't have our third robot wasn't necessarily an offensive contributor. So what we said was, let's get the Auton points, but then we know 971 is going to play offense. We know where they're going to play, and we know how they're going to do it. So if we put a defense robot here in the spot we did, which you can watch the video, it's online, that limited their scoring, and with 2403 and us, we were able to come back and win that match. And I think that's evidence of how scouting can impact your qual schedule in a meaningful way.
Agreed.
And so immediately when divisions come out, hop on that team list, figure out who's in your division, how many level 3s are there, how many cargo robots, how many hatch robots, how many combination robots. Figure out who are going to be the big players. If you have a match against them, learn how to play against them.
I think us in the biz call this pre-scouting, right?
Yep.
Event pre-scouting.
And also on that scouting note, if you're short-handed for Worlds, like I know our team's going to be, make sure, especially once divisions come out, that you're reaching out to teams to collaborate, especially if you have PCH friends in your division.
Yeah.
Make sure you're reaching out to collaborate with them, and make sure you're getting that quality information as a group.
And I think that also lends itself into Worlds is a great experience to be able to really cultivate those types of collaborations, because those collaborations don't just last at Worlds, they can last longer. You develop a rapport with these different teams, and going from there, it's the sharing of knowledge base and everything else. So I think this is a optimal time for you guys if you're going to Worlds. And this is like a new experience for you, not just with Worlds, but really with going to more of collaboration with other teams. Take it on, because I think we have a great set of teams that are going. Some that have a lot of veteran experience that I believe are willing to be able to kind of help and kind of give a lot of advice, a little bit of advice, a lot of advice. And there are a lot of teams that are going that are also hungry for it, which I think is also lends well to the PCH standing at champs.
All right, so I got a true false this time. A Peach Street team will play a match on a Division #1 alliance. I brought this as scouting because I was like, ooh, number one team always does really good scouting. So
True.
True for Anupam.
And
So you're saying they're on the number
They're
one seed
on the number one seed.
and playing in the match.
Playing in a match. So they could be the backup robot as long as they play in a match.
I can I say why I said true
Yes,
on that
of
real
course you
quick? Because I'm going to make a bold prediction here. 49-10 seeds first in their division.
Oh, man.
Because if they're in a division with a lot of hot players and they're in matches with a lot of those hot teams, those big name teams are the ones that get the defenders. 49-10 can solo a rocket without a defender. They have a level 3. They have so much potential to get 4 RP matches.
I have a lot of belief in 49-10.
That's a hot take.
That's a really hot take, and that's coming from me. That's a really hot take.
I've marked that down as a special hot take right there.
It's gonna happen.
That's a Carolina Reaper.
If 49-10 does seed first, then you get 2 points on them.
Put me down for a true, not quite as vigorous of a true, but a true.
I'm gonna go true, and I'm very concerned. Very concerned. Kellen, I'm very concerned about him. Very concerned.
No, like, you just saw how it happened at Peachtree Champs, right?
I did.
Walton didn't get the first seed, right? They got defended pretty heavily against...
I'm naturally a skeptic. It's
11-02
not... This is not straightforward. Listen, 49-10 has impressed me a lot. And I will not put it past them to impress me in this respect. All I'm saying is, the vision lists haven't come out yet, and I don't know if you know this. Not 2974. 254 still exists. 6078 still exists.
254 can only be in one of the 6 divisions. Somebody else has to be in.
Yeah,
there are so many. This is 16, 19.
Look, I mean, I think it's not a secret that Kellen and I are huge 29-10 fans. So
Yeah.
I don't know, without the ability to score a rocket.
Did you just say 29-10?
Yeah, 29-10 is the team, man.
I want to be in their division. I want to play with that robot.
2056
That's
people.
They're not going to be there. Doesn't
Oh,
matter.
wait, that's true. I
If
forgot.
49-10 is in a division with a lot of those heavy
49-10,
hitters, right?
29-10,
The defenders are going to hit the heavy hitters. 49-10 is going to come out unscathed.
The logic is there.
To those matches.
The logic is there. I see where your logic is going, and it's basically the same thing as me walking out on the limb.
Yeah, if there's anybody who's had logic all season, Kyle Fender.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Listen, all I'm saying is I get the logic, so I'm there with you. All I'm saying is, do we have some boards or some nails or I don't know, something to kind of help to ease the.
Right, so I will say this: I think
grind.
we've been incredibly lucky to have 2 years in a row where we've not only necessarily we've had a Peachtree team on the number 1 alliance. I don't think we're going to be as fortunate this time. I think you will have Peachtree teams make it to Einstein, but I don't think it's going to be part of the number 1 seed. I think it's going to be part of a 2 or a 3 seed. That's my opinion.
Which also could make it really interesting because that means that it could be even more of an asset on that second or
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we have one more question, right? We have from Eric Kaufman from 2974. We have, with respect to Worlds, what cheesecaking would you do, if any?
I'm not a huge fan of cheesecake in general, I guess, but I don't see if there's I don't think there's gonna be much of any cheesecaking.
My concern with it is that if you make such a change to a robot, it's so, with how much of a driver's game this is, it's so hard to learn how to play around a new mechanism on your robot. You got to really have the practice behind it. But my line for cheesecaking has long been cheesecake yourself before you cheesecake others.
Yeah.
So either making any mechanism upgrades on your robot, that's how you're going to see the most benefit. Particularly in this game, I think there are other games where cheesecaking is going to play more of a role. I'm not sure I've seen any cheesecaking throughout the entire competition season.
No, but I think there hasn't. I think this game doesn't have a whole lot of room for it.
It's not. It's the only thing that I could honestly think of is maybe if you don't have that level 2 climb. And even then, there is a lot of groundwork just to do a simple level 2 climb.
I think you just have to ask yourself, what kind of robot are you looking for to pick up in Worlds elims that can be a contributor and has the space to add to this? I think it's a pretty short list.
It's a short list, as well as if you think about it, you're dealing with a deeper field. So I like while there's going to be a lot of robots there that really aren't world's caliber. I think when you get to a certain point in the draft, you're still going to find real gems, not just rough gems in the rough, but real gems that may have not gotten that fair shake within the qualification matches.
Right. I think may also make harder is that you do have the ability with a backup robot that if you're really confident in your ability to advance, you can continue to keep to cheesecake on it. But I know last year it was my first time in Division Elims last year, so to be fair, but I felt like it started really quickly. Like you don't have a whole lot of time from when you know who's on your alliance to getting everything over to that section to starting your matches. I think it's about an hour, and like that's especially for moving a whole pit. That's not a lot of time.
Yep.
All right. I think that's the last question we're going to do for the mailbag segment, this mailbag segment. But y'all sent some pretty good questions over in Chief Delphi. So, any last thoughts on Worlds and PCH teams in Worlds? Or
I'm just waiting for divisions come out.
They come out Friday, right?
Right about.
I think that's what they've historically been, but I can't recall too much off the top of my head. But having watched some matches from around the world, I'm confident in the PCH team's capabilities that we're sending to Worlds. I think we got plenty of teams that are ready to play the game at that level, and are gonna come and put on a good show.
All the teams have now graduated. Now you play the game, not the district. There you go.
Now it's flipped. Yeah.
Now it's flipped.
All right. So I have actually three things I want to bring up. So one is we talked about 2974 having the best district season ever. To move to the best season ever in Peachtree, we've had I think 3 teams that really can fight for that title. I mean, I think 1648 did well, but I think they're kind of already past. Like Walton's going to get a first pick, and I think that's probably passing 1648's done last year. Then you have 3 teams. I think you have 4188's 2017 run, where they were the third robot, but they still made it to Einstein Finals, which was the furthest any Peachtree team's ever gone. And you have the 2 2415 years, where they were the first round pick on Galileo in 2017 that made it. They were the only first round pick in Peachtree history to make Einstein. And then you have the 2013 run, which is legendary.
Yeah, 1 match away from Einstein. Yep.
What does Walton have to do at championship to get in that discussion?
I think, they're on a good track already, but
I
think they just got to win their division. They have to win the
division.
Yeah,
they have to win the division and just ball out in all their matches.
So the curious part about Walton's season is that even though they ranked number 2 at one of their events, all 3 of their blue banners have come from being picked instead of being the alliance captain, which they're at the mercy of a little bit because they have no level 3 climber.
And Eric Kaufman talked about it a little bit, where it's like at a certain point, you want to put yourself in the best spot, whether you're the picker or you're being picked, and that's one of the big parts of the whole concept. I would say one of the whole parts of their concept with their robot, but it was it was something to think about. They built a robot that whether or not they were alliance captain, that they are one of the main people to go ahead and try to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I hope that the slightly decreased sample size of 10 qual matches doesn't lend itself too well to level 3 climbers in their division, such that they're going to get potentially picked by somebody who's not quite as strong. So hopefully they can, if they are getting picked, that they're getting picked by somebody they can make a run with.
Pray to schedule gods. Hopefully that works.
All right, I have a couple. All right, so then I have two prop bets that should be quick.
Okay.
Peachtree teams that play and win a match on Einstein at over/under at 0.5. So does a team from Peachtree win a match on Einstein and play in it?
Yes. True.
Over?
Yep, I'm going full optimist today.
I'm going to go over because I think we can make it to Einstein. I think we can win a match on Einstein.
49-10 number 1 seed and 70-46 makes Einstein and wins. That's Anupam is having a hot take-filled day.
I'm just dishing them out.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Now that Sonny's left the room, that's all Anupam wants
now
to do.
I feel like I have to be the contrarian. It's like
Don't worry, I'm also on the contrarian front. So
I'm
you're not
like
alone.
I believe in 1746 and 4910. On the other hand, math is math. So do I want to take the reality, or do I want to take the ideal? I want to kind of take the reality in this. I'm going under.
So I will say I'm only taking the under for this reason. I do think we're going to have a Peachtree team on Einstein. I don't necessarily think they're going to play, and I think the other aspect of it is last year we had 2 teams from North Carolina on Einstein, which I don't think, especially on the same alliance, has never been done. But for 900 made it to Einstein, but never played a match in 2015. They didn't win a match like that. That Turing alliance never won. So like I think you also add the win capability to it. And I think I take the under, but it's not by much. Like I feel like that's a really close line. I think.
See, that's where like I would say 1746 and 2974 have the best shots at, and 4910
of any individual teams, no question.
Yeah, they have the best shots at making Einstein. 2974 and 1746 would have the best shots at winning a match on Einstein. And I think both of those teams are
but I think
far enough up there that it's a more than an insignificant chance.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I'm more look at it as respectfully to that. I think that it's so hard to make Einstein that I look at it as like a bulk proposition. You have this many PCH teams going. You have this many alliances that make the Einstein. What are the odds that just one of them happens to be in the right spot at the right time?
It is a big luck game. The champ first in general has always been big on luck.
All right, so then the last one I have is true false. A Peachtree team will win a championship, rookie all-star, or division technical award. So technical award is autonomous, creativity, innovation, and control, excellence in engineering, quality.
Wait, you said rookie?
A rookie all-star or one of those 6 awards.
I'll go true.
You hyped up on Eve Robotics?
It's a great
Listen,
team. To be fair, it's absolutely awesome.
Great team, literally. Like, think about it. They're one of the few, they have one of the first dual league dean's lists. Like, I did not think that was ever going to happen, and it happened, and they did it. Okay? They've had a solid robot throughout the year. They've showed themselves to be a truly an all-star type of team, an all-star caliber. So I think that they have not hit the ceiling yet. I don't believe they hit the ceiling yet, which means that they have a lot of room to ball out at championship and take home a rookie all-star. Honestly.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about I feel really good about them. I feel good about 1746, and I feel good about 1771, who has a chance at a real autonomous award chance with that climb they've got there. So I think combining those 3, I think one of them will win something. So
I think if you also think about it in terms of we're saying just technical awards.
Just technical awards, so not like you're not including imagery or GP. I just mean those 6.
Oh, I was gonna say culture. I was actually gonna say culture.
I'm not saying culture. Just rookie all-star. I'm not worried. Engineering inspiration and chairmans are, I think, beyond. I mean, engineering inspiration you never know, but chairmans, I think, respectfully to 4188 and 4468, I don't think are in the same tier as some of the real contenders.
No. I agree with you there. EI though, I think would be. You make an interesting case about 2974.
Maybe. I mean, they've been in that discussion before and haven't come with it.
Put me down for a true.
Anupam, what do you think?
I'm going to go with true as well.
All right. All on the same page there. Okay. All right, so then I have my last question is, this is, I think, was perceived as an up year across Peachtree.
Agreed.
Do we think it continues to next year? Do we think next year is also an up year? Or do we think it's a step back?
I think next year Gainesville is going to be a step back because I think the teams that are usually fine, or that are usually able to like manage time, are going to do okay with no bag. But then the teams that usually kind of leave everything for the last minute, they're going to be hit even harder with no bag. And I think it's going to be apparent at Gainesville. But a big but. I think by state championships, teams will be better than last year.
Kellen, what do you think? Skepticism is all across Kellen's face right now.
It really is.
I think so much depends on the game, which I'm trying to think what about this game would have lent itself
So I think
to.
that's what my thought is about this game, is that there's a lot of teams, not every team, there are obviously teams that didn't, but a lot of teams built similar core components. And I think that was a big thing for a step up next year, there's no way I see the GDC doing that 3 years in a row. So I think it's going to be completely different game components. And I think because of that, not even necessarily because they're worse as teams, but just that they have to learn all these new engineering things, that as a state, as a whole, will take a slight, not much, but slight step back. That's my opinion.
In that case, even if there are some teams that struggle with it, I've been the last couple seasons just been consistently impressed by the breadth of teams that have been improving in PCH. For the teams that are starting to show up to play at a higher level that haven't done so in the past. So I think I'll keep that expectation for seeing the general improvement across the board. But yeah, a little skepticism about exactly what the game is going to look like for next year and if it lends itself to that same improvement.
Kyle, any last thoughts? Any thoughts?
I'm trying to think about this, but I also just found out Magic Johnson just resigned. So, yeah,
live reaction.
My brain. So I'd honestly say I'm really proud of the Peachtree District. I think that we've done an exceptional job at really just stepping up the bar of what we can accomplish as a district, and I can't wait to see what happens next year.
Yeah, I think even though I'm a little skeptical of whether we're as good as we're next year, I think what I've seen out of this year across the board has been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what next year looks like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I do want a quick shout out to the 1648 kids, Diego and company who lent me Jefferson. He's been up on the wall this whole time, so I hope he didn't quite do a great job of replacing Sonny this week, but he's a nice welcoming addition, if anyone.
I love the look of contempt on his face. It's amazing.
Always questioning his.
Any season-ending comments or anything you want to throw out there for the last episode?
I'll throw a comment out there. It looks like at this point we have about 25 teams from PCH going to Houston, which is phenomenal. Just for that long of a list, I believe we get 17 slots. So between Hall of Fame and some waitlist slots, it's really awesome to see that many teams going. My recommendation for those teams going is to get out there and talk to other teams that you don't get to interact with as much as you do all these other PCH teams. So go talk to and make friends with and learn from all those teams from around the world that build their robots in a slightly different way, run their teams in slightly different ways, play the game in slightly different ways. So use this as a learning opportunity as much as you can.
I would say one of my big season-ending things, especially for the teams going to championships, is manage your stress levels, manage your expectation levels. I think it's good to have those high expectations, but I don't think high expectations is worth stressing yourself out to the point where you're not enjoying an experience that you have rightly earned. So, take the time to obviously compete hard, but in the same fashion, realize the opportunity that you have in going and take the time to enjoy that experience of being at championships, because it's not something everyone gets to experience. And I think when you take that attitude, it'll lend better to not only your competition experience, but also your own personal experience as someone going through the first experience itself.
Right. So, Trevor, do you have anything to say or add?
I think we've all covered. I really enjoyed working with you guys, so I hope the listeners have enjoyed it as much as I have, because I've had a blast.
I got to thank the listeners for listening to us. And
one more thing.
Especially Kyle.
One more thing, guys. As PCH grows in intensity, so do our hot takes. So if you raise the level here, that means we burn everything down later on. It's great.
I want to thank
This is Kyle Fender for you.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone who listened to us and made this personal project of mine and Sonny's a success. And thank you guys for being on this adventure with us.
Been a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really think that this is a lot of fun for us, and I got some feedback, and people really like some of the stuff that we discussed. So I think for next season, we're going to try and improve on this. And if you have any ideas or comments or suggestions, or even like topic ideas or segment ideas, then just shoot us an email or shoot us a message on Chief Delphi or through Slack or one form of communication.
You guys know how to reach us. We're not hard to find.
Also, I would like a suggestion for next season. I want to debate either Chris Wilson or Eric Kaufman. I just want mano a mano. Just sit down.
PCH Pit special.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
With that show, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And yeah, it's been a good season. All right. See ya.
Bye.